course, Introduction to Human-Computer Interaction. This is week 5. I hope you're enjoying the content of this course for the last 4 weeks. I see that some of you are asking questions on the mailing list, but it'll be nice to get more and more people to talk about what they're doing, what they're trying, what are you understanding, and some questions that you may have for us to answer. It'll be more useful to make the list more active. So what I'm going to cover today is actually, or this week, is something along the lines of prototyping. Right? So this is one of the important aspects of the course itself, because if you remember the pillars of the course, we want to understand what the users are thinking, what users want, then we want to actually try and design, then we want to build, and then we want to evaluate. So those are the 4 things that we're going to be focusing on the course. We're kind of done with the first part, so to say, understanding users. Now we'll get on to the phase of, let's go design. Let's just go get some designs out, get our hands dirty in terms of building a solution that users could use. Why do prototyping? Prototyping is something that is such an essential part of actually design process. Why do we need to do prototyping? We need prototyping because simplified versions of the system can be actually built, right? So because if you want to do a prototyping of this particular remote for the slide changer, I think what you want to do is you don't want to just end up building the whole thing with all the functionalities and then going and taking it to the user to get some feedback. So that's the whole idea, to get quick feedback in the design that you're making, but not actually spending a lot of time in building the prototype also. Quickly experiment with alternatives, right? So we can actually think of multiple ways of having this, right? This is more like, so to say, rectangle type design, but you could actually think of a circular design, you could actually think of a squarish design. So people could have come up with multiple design alternatives. The companies could have, for example, this is, I think, is Logitech. Logitech could have come up with multiple design alternatives to decide on what is the proper design that they should be actually manufacturing at the end. The other reason why you want to do prototyping is to actually get feedback as quickly as possible, because I think another philosophy that you want to keep in mind is, I think we saw some quotes also earlier in the lecture, that if you don't show anything to the users and if you ask them what do you want, they would not know what do they want, and they would not probably give you enough inputs for you to actually build on. But when you build a prototype and show it to them, probably there's going to be more and more inputs that you'll get. It's not only probably, it will be that users will give you comments about, at least they will scream at the designs that you've made. They will at least be unhappy about what you've designed. They'll be giving you feedbacks on what to fix. So that's one of the another big reason why you want to do prototyping. Fix problems before code is written, right? So you don't want to write a lot of code, you don't want to do a lot of manufacturing of all of this, putting them all together and then deciding that, oh, this design is probably a bad design. And it also definitely saves time and money. You don't want to spend a lot of money, you don't want to spend the time of the engineer, designer, all of them in building a prototype which is close to the final product, and then getting feedback saying this is not a good design. The other reason why you want to do prototyping is actually to keep the user as the center, right? So because if you start doing prototyping, the users are actually getting involved in the design process as early as possible. They're going to give you feedback and you're going to use those feedback in terms of designing, and the product will become much better. And you don't want to just do prototyping for the heck of collecting data, for the heck of collecting users' feedback. You want to also observe the designs that you made, to how users are using it, how users are reacting to it, how users are playing around with it, right? So those kind of inputs will make a lot of sense for you to actually build the prototype, for you to actually use the inputs from the users to build the next level of prototypes. Now let's look at some basics of actually prototyping, where this idea of prototyping started, how you could actually start using this prototyping. So here is a storyboard, it is called, right? So I'm sure many of you would have read or seen about these kind of storyboards. I'm letting you to guess how and who uses this storyboard. So it says shot 1, 1970 era workshop, boy and his dad standing on a spice rack wood project. Shot number 2, dad holding storage cabinet. Shot number 3, boy now grown up roofing his own home. Shot 4, close up, dad helping boy use a hammer. Shot 5, dad giving his twins their own hammer. Shot 6, twins laughing with dad as they hold up a spice rack, just like he once made with his dad, right? So what is the idea about this storyboarding is that storyboarding helps to create shots in movies, in many, I'm sure you would have seen it in sometimes in cartoons also, where it actually explains what shot each of it is, right? So the director, the actors, everybody, if this was a movie direction, everybody would know, the technician, the cameraman, everybody would know what shot is going to be taken and what is currently going to be done, right? So this just helps in developing the shot very well, having a very effective use of all resources available, because you don't want to make a shot, okay, let's do this shot with the boy and the dad in his workshop, and then things are there and you don't know what is set up. The technician doesn't know what light to give, the producer or the director doesn't know the cameraman doesn't know where to zoom in, all of that, right? Or the things that are kept in the workshop, the people who are helping to do that don't know exactly what to keep in the back. So this kind of storyboarding helps very much in creating a movie, in creating a shot, in shooting a movie. Here is another one. This is one that I like. This is Lion King, and the characters are spelled out and where they are standing, how they should be. This is more like hand-drawn characters, and it also shows you the direction in which the Timon is looking at, and the character in which the king is looking at, and things like that, right? So this kind of helps the movie direction. This kind of helps the creative artists to actually clearly state their ideas to the technicians, to the director, right? By looking at it, they can make very good judgment on what should they expect in the shot when it is finally done. So these kind of storyboarding helps in developing a good output. Now here are some things that more towards the software that you may be building, or a product that you may be building, right? This kind of shows what are the kinds of menus, what are the options that are available, contacts, a screen name, nickname, right? Content, search, users form, right? All of this are the screen names that is there. And of course the colors in this slide also helps you to understand some level of information. Red color showing you the main screen, the green color showing you the buttons, and then the title on the screens showing you what the screen is all about, right? Search tab, common contacts tab, right? All of that is helping, right? Blue color main just helping you to show you some flow, right? It is actually saying that, okay, if you click on the button here on the top, you will go to this particular screen. You would have seen all of this in Proto.io already in the lab, but I'm just giving you the background on how paper prototyping, the lowest type of prototyping that we're going to do, will actually end up creating the paper prototypes for the work that you're doing, for the ideas that you're interested in. Why use low fidelity prototypes, right? So why do we have to generate? So first we saw why prototyping is necessary. Prototyping is necessary to get inputs from the user. Prototyping is necessary to save some time, money, all of that. Now let's look at low fidelity prototypes. What are low fidelity prototypes, and why do we need to build low fidelity prototypes? So low fidelity prototypes is basically a sketches, right? Paper prototypes that you can build. So this is essentially a low fidelity prototype. Just take a pen and a paper, draw what you're thinking about, and then use that to get inputs from users. Sketches act as prototypes. Designer plays computer, so you can actually create as a user, as a designer, you created with a pen and a paper the designs. Now let's look at the reasons why use low fidelity prototypes, right? Low fidelity prototypes are the ones that we just now saw, which is just a pen and a paper, and the designers actually build it, give it to the users, get some feedback. Why use low fidelity? Low fidelity actually helps you to create a prototype, first of all. It sketches, evaluates, and iterates, so you can actually do multiple times in the paper prototype itself, change things, get feedback, change things, get feedback. Sketches act as prototypes. Let's non-programmers to participate, because you don't need programming skills, right? If you're actually designing a product, not necessarily the person who's doing low fidelity prototype evaluation needs to know programming. They can just do it in a pen and a paper. And like the one that I said in the storyboarding, this low fidelity prototype helps everybody whoever is part of the team to understand what is the final thing that we're building and how does it look before actually getting into a line of code. So those are the reasons why low fidelity prototypes have become very, very popular, and it is super necessary to build low fidelity prototypes before you start actually building the actual tool. Given that I'm arguing why low fidelity prototypes are necessary, here are some downsides of high fidelity. I want to bring you the downsides of high fidelity because this will help you to understand not to get into writing the code, because as general students, as general so to say engineers, you will end up actually starting to think that let's just build it. This is probably a general engineering students or engineers view, I guess. Let's just build it and then we'll keep taking feedback as we build the tool. I don't know, many of you even do as we build the tool. Probably you build the tool, put it out there, and then start getting feedback from the users. So I'm trying to break that notion of let's build it and then get feedback. So downsides of high fidelity, what does high fidelity mean? High fidelity means basically building the whole remote, slide changes and then getting feedback, right? So first thing is, it's just the designer, whoever is creating it, is the person who's going to think through what all features to have, and the final product is as good as what that person is going to think about. And when you give it to the users are going to think that this is a complete finished product. Now they don't want to give you feedback at the level of saying, no, this functionality is probably not good, I'm not necessary, or it could have been done differently. All that feedback will not come if you actually give them the final product. Instead, if you show them a paper prototype, they're going to actually give you feedback of saying, yeah, we could change this feature better. In the high fidelity, meaning if you try it getting feedback from users, you'll actually get feedbacks like these, saying colors you should change, fonts should be different, the alignment here is different, we could have actually thought of a different color there and things like that. Instead of actually giving you feedback at the level of how the interactions can be improved rather than actually how things are placed. And another thing that you will hear when you show for high fidelity for feedback is that when can we get it, right? Because high fidelity is as close as to be done, so can we actually get it? That's what your customers, that's what your end users will start thinking and asking you about. In contrary to the low fidelity, which takes probably shorter time, high fidelity takes a lot more time in actually building the final product, right? Because it is going to involve all kinds of writing codes, all kinds of interactions have to be properly seen through and everything. So therefore, it is a high time-consuming job. High fidelity tools encourage precision, right? So because if you're going to use tools which will help you to build, for example, if you're going to write it in Python or if you're going to write it in Ruby on Rails, any of that you do, it is going to actually make it more and more precise for you to get the interactions properly done. But getting the precision higher, getting how things to be done is going to take a lot more time, right? Getting a particular interaction properly done is going to take a lot more time. First of all, when you don't even know how the interactions is going to be, or you have a perception that this is how the interaction should be, building that is straight away is actually hard. So therefore, one of the downsides of high fidelity is that it's going to take time to get the interactions done well, get the specifics, so to say, developed very well. And of course, high fidelity is going to actually take a lot of time when you're actually building for small things that you're going to build in the high fidelity. Right? Tend to waste time on small details that aren't important in the early stages of the design, because when you start building the high fidelity directly, you really don't know whether you want to put the logo here, or look at this slide changer. It has actually the pointer, the slide changer left and right, and going to the full screen mode and changing the full screen mode. They're all compacted here. Instead, one of the questions could have been, why not keep it here? There's a switch on and off here. But the question could have been, why did they place it here instead of just here, right? So if you don't know all these details with good level of confidence, you're going to build as you think it is, and you're going to waste time in building without details. People tend to focus narrowly on one design with high fidelity tools, because it is harder to get. Designers will end up actually spending only building one high fidelity prototype design rather than actually many of them. Easy to lose track of the big picture, right? So when you start building the high fidelity prototype, you're actually getting too much into details, and therefore you'll actually miss the big picture of why you're trying to build what you're building. So the basic materials for a low fidelity prototype, this is not a comprehensive list. I'm sure you can develop, you can have other things that you find in and around your home to actually start building a low fidelity prototype of the product that you're thinking. Whiteboards, index cards, post-its, tape, glue, pen and marker, overhead transparency, scissors and knives, right? So these are the common things that you'll end up actually wanting while you're building a low fidelity prototype.